How you doing, people? Welcome back to another ESO build video. Today is the Infinite Archive variant of the Lazy Bones. The other version, if you still want to use that, is absolutely fine for content, but this one is specifically designed for that arena. It is a 1-bar Necromancer, and it wrecks. So if you want to see more of this, stay tuned. It's all coming up. So again, like I said at the very beginning, the original Lazy Bones build is still absolutely fine for all other content, but this is designed specifically for the Infinite Archive. Now, in the Infinite Archive, there's lots of different bonuses and buffs that you can take advantage of that you can't really benefit from in other content. So you might have a specific damage over time skill that only does like 1 or 2k a second, but if you stack it with certain buffs and bonuses inside the archive, that could become much more dramatic. So you have to build slightly differently if you want to take advantage of those. Well, we've done that today with this particular build. So again, the other version is still fine and you can use it in there, but this one is more tailored to that content. Now we're going to go over obviously the stats first of all, and this is going to be a little different to the original build. So we are sitting on 14.4k max Magicka. I know. The other build has loads of Magicka, this one doesn't. Loads of stamina, which is 31.3k, and 32k max health. Now, the recovery bonuses will alter, but keep your potions up. Keep them running. They're important. 786 mag recovery, 1,381 health recovery, and 876 stam recovery. We are on 4.5k, almost 4.6k weapon and spell damage with 41% crit chance. But what you need to consider also is that you do get bonuses inside the Endless Archive that dramatically improves your crit chance and crit damage. So they can stack up really well, and they don't show in your stats. Also bear in mind, the Necromancer has a passive that gives you higher crit chance the more specific abilities you have on your bar when the health is low. So we've got default increased crit chance anyway. Pen is sitting on 4k, which is quite nice for a start. That will get better in content. And we've got really good resistances. 20.7k and 19.3k. We're quite chunky. All points into max stamina with the Thief Munderstone with flat food. I need to make that very clear. I know there's a bug there. It says 0-0. It's actually just over 5k health and just under 5k max stamina. Flat stuff. Really cheap to make. Get a stack of 100. You got 100 hours worth of food. Really simple stuff. Do not use tri-stat food. It won't help you. Do not use sugar skulls or anything like that. It won't help you. All you'll do is you'll gain a small recovery bonus, which you don't need on this setup, and you will lose maximum health, which is less effective towards your skills that we're utilizing, and you'll have less stamina, which is less effective, and you'll have more Magicka with some food, which you don't need. I know, it looks weird on paper. Stay with me. I'm going to explain everything. So, now we're going to go into the skills. Bear in mind there are class guides on my channel now. The class guides will give you all the intricate details that you need. Here in the build video, I'm going to go over the skills briefly, but if you want more information on those, there is a link there. So first off is Stalk and Blast Bones. This is in the Gravelord skill line. Starts off as Blast Bones, morph to Stalking for the Flame variant. It channels when it grows out of the ground, jumps at the target and goes bang. It is direct damage in area of effect. So it does do a single hit in a big area. Now, it does have up to 28 meter range, so you can fire it from very long distance, but it only gets the extra benefit for the extra damage if the target is running away. If it's within their range, it'll just jump and land. If they start legging it, then it'll do more. That's less likely to happen in the Infinite Archive, but it depends on your group. Maybe someone's running around like a lunatic and your skeleton has to chase them. Either way, apply this. When it's grayed out, you can't apply it. When it's not grayed out, you can. It also drops a corpse, which you can take advantage of with your necro skills that consume corpses. So basically fire this when ready. Now, Unstable Wall of Storms is quite simple. Put it on the ground, it does damage over time, and then it pops at the end. Bear in mind, if you reapply it, the old one is gone, which means it's ended, which means it goes boom. So yes, you can obviously take advantage of this. If you look here, it's doing damage, and then pop. Pop again. Pop again. Yes, you can technically spam that if you really wanted to. Don't do it too much because your magic is quite low, and we are built to kind of take advantage of heavies to restore that. But in a jam, if you want to just pop it because your Blast Bones isn't ready, of course you can. Or if you need to reapply it, you benefit from still doing the damage at the end. Ruinous Scythe. It's in the Bone Tyrant skill line. First one you unlock starts off as Death Scythe, morph it to Ruinous Scythe. Yes, I'm aware this costs stamina. We've done that on purpose because we've got a big stam bar. We can actually sustain this. So what you do is you apply it and it heals you. But the more targets you hit, the bigger that heal is. It hits with direct damage, area of effect, bleed, which is a single hit. Bleed is not damage over time specifically. Bleed is a damage type. It can be direct, it can be single target, it can be AoE, it can be damage over time, it can be a one-time hit. Lots of different types of damage that come from this. This is just its element type, if you like. However, bleed damage does have a side effect. If you apply status effects from bleed, you will apply a damage over time effect, a short duration one, 4 seconds, called hemorrhage, and you will make the targets lose 10% of their maximum health for the duration of that debuff. However, this skill doesn't need status chance, because this skill guarantees it. You guarantee hemorrhage status effect, and you guarantee off balance for all targets hit. Now bear in mind that's up to 6, so if there's more than 6, spam it twice. This skill also costs stamina, which we can afford, and scales off of your health. So the higher your health, the bigger the heal. Hemorrhage status on this particular setup from that skill in normal content is quite nice. On stream, we have had 3 stacks of focused efforts, just 3, without the extra 20% increase bonus to bleed damage, with multiple other buffs and bonuses, with crit damage bonuses, and we have seen in excess of 80 to 90k ticks from hemorrhage from this particular build. You won't get that on a target dummy, because it's not built for those buffs. You won't get that in a dungeon. You won't get that in a trial. That is why now, lots of different individual skills or setups that wouldn't necessarily benefit you massively in everyday content can completely tip the scales in the Infinite Archive. Really difficult to keep calling it Infinite Archive when they changed it. I know. If you want to know more about that, there's a video there. Now, next up is Necrotic Potency. This is basically your ulti gainer and your active heal over time. So if there is a body on the ground and you activate this, it's free. You get heal every 1 second for 2 seconds per corpse. So a maximum of 6. So yes, you can get a 12-second heal over time. Does come with a big bonus though. 6 ultimate per corpse. Eat all the corpses. Your pets, other people's dead bodies, enemies' dead bodies. Eat them all. It's free, ulti, and health. And this scales off of your maximum health as well, much like Ruinous Scythe does. So these two benefit us when we have higher health. So you can stack bonuses in the Endless Archive. You can get buffs from your group members, whatever. There's lots of different ways to gain extra health. But if you do, these are more effective. And next up is our main heal. This needs to be morphed specifically to Spirit Guardian. This is in the Living Death skill line, 4th ability to unlock, morph it to Spirit Guardian. This will heal you once every 2 seconds for 16 seconds, and then it will die. When it's dead, you can scoop up its corpse if you want, or you can just reapply it and still scoop up the old corpse. Or you can reapply it over top of itself, and if it's almost out, it will drop a corpse, and you can still take the corpse. You get the idea. Anyway, this is your heal. Obviously, it scales off of your damage stats, so your maximum weapon and spell damage, or maximum magicka or stamina, but it's very, very effective as a constant hot. It will also heal an ally instead of you if they're lower than you, but while active, that pet will take 10% of all the damage you take. Yeah, it's basically a guard for you. It's ridiculous. So do not let this run out. And it's very important towards the gear setup. We need an active, constant heal to make sure that we kind of bounce off of what we're using. No spoilers for those at the back. Some of you already know what's going on. Next up is your ulti. Now, this can be switched out depending on how comfortable you are. Glacial Colossus is what I would recommend first off. You can use the poison one if you prefer, because it does do a bit more damage, but this one does apply a stun, and in the Infinite Archive, you are going to need lots of crowd control, because there's a lot of enemies. So this one actually helps. Basically, you fire it, and Malcolm comes out the ground, smashes 3 times, and loads of enemies take loads and loads of frost damage, which could apply status effect, yes, and also stuns them. Damage dealt applies major vulnerability to enemies hit for 17 seconds, increasing the damage they take by 10%. So this is a huge, huge debuff and damage bonus all at the same time. So you could get minor vulnerability from your lightning staff. You can get major vulnerability from this. They do stack. That is your drop the house on the enemy button. Use it as much as you can until you get in trouble. Or, maybe you preference this one. If you get to a point where things are much more difficult in the Infinite Archive and you feel a bit squishy, swap this out. Or just use it in certain dangerous situations. Maybe bosses, whatever. Swap this out for Ravenous Goliath. This is in the Bone Tyrant skill line. This is mental. It lasts 20 seconds and you cannot generate ultimate while this is active. But you will build ulti really fast in the Infinite Archive. And this is God mode, basically. You activate it and instantly gain 30k extra health for 20 seconds. And immediately heal 30k health. So if you're very, very low, this is your emergency heal ulti. But while transformed, damaging with light or heavy attacks will give you health back. Quite a lot, because this scales very, very high. And you deal magic damage constantly to enemies around you. And all the magic damage that you do in that aura will heal you. And this scales off of your maximum health. The higher the health, the stronger the skill. You get 30k on top already. We've got 32k on top already. That gets dramatic. And if you start taking advantage of buffs and bonuses inside the Infinite Archive that increase your health pool, you get the idea. Yes, of course, if you're unlucky or do a stupid, you'll die. But generally speaking, this is your 20 seconds of God mode. It is incredible. And again, the more health you have, the better. That looks very low on paper to start with. It is not. It gets very, very strong. So basically, that is your setup. Blast Bones, Unstable Wall of Elements, Ruinous Scythe specifically, you got to get that one, Necrotic Potency, Spirit Guardian, and Ravenous Goliath, or you can take advantage of the Malcolm ultimate, which is Glacial Colossus. Up to you. Passives, very quickly, then I'll explain how the build works and why. You are going to want all of these. It will get the cost down for your pets. It will also increase your critical strike chance per one of these skills on your bar at low health. So the lower the health of the target, the higher your crit chance. Obviously, we're sitting on 41, almost 42. You can get that to almost 48 with minor crit bonus, but then this goes up and up and up. And if you have got the Malcolm ultimate, obviously that adds another 8%. So you've got a potential for 16% increase there. That's quite strong. And you've got bonuses in the Infinite Archive that will add to that. Gravelord abilities active will give you increased pen. So while we've got lower pen at the moment, that actually increases while we've got a Gravelord ability active. Again, that is quite important when you are running Blast Bones and such, because that does contribute. So when that's firing, you get increased penetration values, which means it does more damage. So handy there. And increases damage done with damage over time effects. Any dots we do are enhanced, including Hemorrhage. Bone Tyrant. Take advantage of these. Obviously, when you are in combat, if an enemy dies, even if you don't kill it, you get resources back. Reduces the damage you take with damage over time abilities, which is incredible, but you have to have one of these active. Quite simple. As long as you've got Necrotic Potency heal going on, this will work. Increases your healing received for each Bone Tyrant ability slotted. And increases your max health for being a Necromancer. These here, while you have a negative effect, your healing done is increased. While you have a Live and Death ability slotted, your crit chance on healing is higher. When you use a corpse ability that sucks up a corpse, you will get ultimate back once every 16 seconds. And while you have a Blast Bone, Skeletal Mage, or Spirit Mender active, your health, magicka, and stam recovery is increased. Destruction Staff abilities, obviously, we've got one, but you do want to take advantage of every single passive. Get all of them. You will get resources back for killing stuff with the Destro Staff. You will also have direct damage increased by 12% for all of your direct and channeled skills. So that includes Blast Bones, Ruinous Scythe, Wall of Elements when it pops, your heavy attack, all of that counts. And of course, Malcolm is direct damage. He goes bang, bang, bang. You can argue it's damage over time. Obviously, that might double dip, but the hits are direct. Light armor. We are actually wearing 2 pieces of light. So we've got 2 light, 4 medium, and 1 heavy. That is for stat purposes and to take advantage of passives. So here is your 4 medium bonuses. You've got all these here. You need to make sure you take advantage of all of these. But your light will give you extra recovery, extra penetration, and extra resistances all at the same time. And crit chance. Your medium will give you 4 stacks worth of crit damage, stam recovery, weapon and spell damage, and of course movement speed and reduction to dodge roll cost. Heavy armor will give us some minor bonuses, but they do help. This will give us physical and spell resistance, health recovery, resources back when we get hit, extra health, extra stam or magicka back when we do a heavy attack, depending on the weapon, and increases your healing received. These are all minor bonuses, but they do tip the scales. They will make a difference. We're not taking advantage of anything else here apart from Undaunted. Undaunted, of course, if you take a synergy, you get resources back. I mean, there's only 2 of you in the room, or 1 if it's just you. Make sure you use this as much as possible if the synergies are present. And you've got a 6% bonus across the board to all stats. We are using light, heavy, and medium. So again, 1 heavy, 2 light, 4 medium. That way we could take advantage of the 6% bonus for all stats, including our health, stamina, and mag. Obviously, they all are higher now. We want the stam to be higher for more damage, and we want the health to be higher for more damage and healing, depending on what we're using. We're an orc. Max stamina, max health, heal from doing damage, and weapon and spell damage increase, and faster and costs less to sprint. Also take advantage of medicinal use. Most important passive in the game, in my opinion. We're using tripods. If they are grey, good. They're running, you're getting your recovery bonus. If they are not grey, pop one. I know that some people obsess over their consumables and like, well, I only want this when I want to heal. Wrong. You're doing it wrong. Stop letting your resources run out for an emergency pot. Because if you run low enough down and activate a potion, you're going to get about 7k back in your resources and you're going to use it in 2 or 3 skills. It's gone again. Keep them running to maintain that 30% increase to all 3 bar resources. That recovery is crucial. Yes, of course, if you are lacking less than 100%, when you pop the potion, it will fill that. But only waiting until it's 0 is not making efficient use of your potions. They are buffs, keep them running. You have major recovery bonuses of all 3 types all the time, then you'll never run down to 0. Nice and simple. Now, how does this build work? Why have I chosen to make the stats look like that on a Magicka build? Well, because if you haven't kept up to date with how things work, hybridization changes were very dramatic in the build diversity side of things. You have always been able to make hybrid builds. If you look on the channel, you'll see that they were there all along, but they were more difficult to make because of the way that stats scaled, and you had to kind of tip into one or the other or a bit of both. Now you don't need to. The highest of your magicka or stamina will contribute to the strength of your skills. The highest of the spell damage or weapon damage will work alongside that to contribute towards the strength of your damaging skills. So if you are using magic costing abilities, but you have an incredibly high stamina pool, it will cost magic, but it will pull its strength from your stamina. So what I've done here is I've taken advantage of a magical weapon. I've taken advantage of a magicka skill for heals, for damage, and for dots. So Wall of Elements, Blast Bones, and Spirit Mender. But because I'm channeling my heavy attack a lot, I can maintain my magicka. So cost is not a problem. I've got a very low pool from where the cost comes from. But I have taken advantage of a high stamina pool to increase their strength. So I have infinite sustainability on where the cost comes from, at the same time as having a massive stamina pool to do 2 things. 1, maintain crowd control. So if I get stunned, if I need to dodge, if I need to block or bash, any of that stuff, I can maintain it because the bar is so huge. At the same time, my heal comes from that bar. Before, if you needed to use a heal which costs stamina on a low stamina bar, you could probably only cast it about 3 times. Now I can maintain it. So, with that side effect added to the game, basically, you choose how you want to play. Magic or stamina, weapon or spell damage, doesn't make a difference. You have to just figure out where the resource is coming from, where your cost comes from, and figure out if you can maintain it or not. And then choose the stat you like. So, this is no longer a problem. I can block, dodge, break free, and I can sprint. I can do all of that with a massive stam bar. My damage all comes from the stam bar, but my cost comes from the mag. And again, if you look very carefully, you'll see that no matter how much I spend, I'm not going to run out if I maintain this. Maintaining heavy attacks on off-balance targets is key. So, what happens if I don't get off-balance? Well, I will, because watch. Guaranteed. Heavy, you can't run out. You literally cannot run out of the bar that your skills are being spent from. That is why the switch. That is why I've changed it over. Hopefully that makes sense. Some of you, I know your brain just blew up. Don't worry, we've got a cleaner. Now, gear. Lightning Staff of Endurance. Why have I done that? So, first of all, we've got a damage shield. When you pick up your enchantment bonus in the Infinite Archive, you can dramatically improve that. You can end up with something really, really stupid like a 20k damage shield just from using lights, heavies, or your Wall of Elements. Excuse that sound. My... Wow, it just came out. Never mind. Could have cut that out. We're not going to. Max health bonus just for putting the staff on, because the staff counts as 2 pieces. And we've got a jewelry piece as well, which is 3 pieces. So now we've got a huge health recovery bonus, a big health bonus. You can, if you choose, go for agility, which would give you much more stamina and much more weapon damage. But you're opting to go very squishy then. Your heal will be less. Your damage will be higher. But your Goliath will be less as well. Basically, you are turning yourself into a bit more of a glass cannon. You can do that, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. The health bonus and the health recovery did make a big difference. So Endurance, Lightning Staff, Precise with a damage shield, and 1 Endurance necklace or ring. Bloodthirsty on all 3 jewelry pieces, with weapon and spell damage, glyph with stam recovery attached. The way to do that is there's 2 different types of glyphs. Both give weapon and spell damage. One gives mag recovery, one gives stam. You want the stam recovery, because while we get all our resources back for Magicka, the stam recovery is base. We don't have any other way to get that back, except for champion points. So we take the stam recovery version. You need Rapora, Taduri, and Kuta to make those glyphs. We're using the 1 ring, obviously, a crap ton of buffs. You know how it works. Basically, you have a load of front-loaded bonuses, so you don't have to find them in other places. The sacrifice is, you've got 1 bar. Get this as soon as you can. The Oaken Soul Ring is key to this build. Also, you've got built-in Empower, so when something is off-balance, not only do you do 70% extra damage from the off-balance, not only do you get double resources back from the off-balance, but you also do an additional 70% for them being hit with your heavy. We're using 1 piece of Druid's Braid, because the 1-piece bonus gives us a health bonus. There are very, very, very few sets in the game that belong on your jewelry, body, or weapons that have a 1-piece bonus. This will help. We've got a spare piece. Because we're using the Mythic and we're using a 3-piece set, we're also using a 5-piece set and a 2-piece set, we've got 1 spare. We may as well take advantage of a stat. And since health contributes so much towards our heals and our transformation, that does help. Definitely put it on your jewelry, because then you can figure out the weights properly on your armor. It's not the end of the world if you put it somewhere else, but it makes more sense if you can take advantage of that. Now, what I'd recommend here is that you take a healthy trait if you feel squishy, or a bloodthirsty trait if you can maintain it. It's entirely up to you. One will do quite a substantial bit more damage than the other, but when you get to later arcs in the Infinite Archive, you are going to find that you want that extra survivability. So again, the choice is yours. But the choice, obviously, as far as the glyphs are concerned, is non-negotiable. Weapon and spell damage with stam recovery on all 3. Pelennor. Yes, you may have seen this on the Endark Nightblade, which we have to change the name for now. This is not really a complex set, but you are going to have to micromanage your heals. Weapon and spell damage, offensive pen, weapon and spell damage. When you kill an enemy, you gain a damage shield that absorbs, currently based on stats, 20.4k for 10 seconds. Every time you get a kill, that damage shield resets. That is one of, if not the largest damage shield of any set that exists. But it comes with a side effect. Our weapon and spell damage, as you saw, was 4.5k, almost 4.6. If you kill someone, you get 100 weapon and spell damage. If you kill someone again within that 10 seconds, you get another 100 spell damage. And again, and again, and again. So yes, you can get 1,000 weapon and spell damage out of this. That is a bit of a game changer. But the side effect is you will take 1% for every 100 weapon and spell damage you gain of your maximum health and oblivion damage for 10 seconds per second. So if you get to 1,000 weapon and spell damage, you now take 10% of your health per second. Do not worry. If you maintain your ghost, you will out-heal this. If you are out of combat and you've got 10 seconds worth of this running, you would obviously on a calculator say that's 100% of your health. Don't worry. 1, your ghost can heal you. 2, your health recovery will offset the tick so you won't actually die. And one more very important thing. This is Oblivion damage. Oblivion damage goes under shields. Nothing else does. There's no Oblivion damage that you will take from bosses or adds inside the Infinite Archive. So the only damage that can hurt you while the damage shield is present is yourself. If you can heal underneath your shield, you won't die. The trick is you've got to get kills. It is very hard for you to die when you have a damage shield higher than most DPS players' entire health. All you need to do is at least get 1 kill every 10 seconds. I know there's other sets in the game that will give you damage shields. Parabellum gives you a 9k damage shield. Bear in mind, that doesn't get enhanced by anything other than Bastion. You can't increase that with your weapon and spell damage. You can't increase it with your health. It doesn't increase. It's a flat bonus. Then you've also got Hexus Ward, which is over here somewhere. I'm sure I had it somewhere. This is a 14k, which is quite nice. But again, that doesn't scale with your stats like that. That is set in stone. Both of those have a 6 to 7 second cooldown. Yes, of course, you could argue you can stack them both, but both of them equate to almost what Pelinel can come out to on its own. So you only need 1 set for the damage shield. Again, the offset is maintain this. That's it. If you've got someone in your group with a Blood Altar or a heal on the ground, and you've got this running, you're immortal. Now, obviously, you have to consider that things can kill you if you haven't got a damage shield up. You do have to get kills, and in boss fights, this can be a little tricky. But if you have a Loot Goblin or any ad in the slightest, use that to your advantage. It's very, very strong. And if not, if it's just a single target, well, at least you've got the pen and weapon and spell damage to give you that kick in the first place. So this is a very, very strong damage shield that you can basically maintain forever as long as you kill stuff. And you will. And in later arcs, you're going to get ads that you don't want in the room that are quite squishy that you can also use. Bear in mind, of course, the faster the kills, the more you're going to need this. If you want to see more about this actual build when it was in its production stages, if you like, its testing stages, I have actually been using this on live stream. We got to like arc 9 almost the other night, and we had to stop because it was way too late. No problem whatsoever. It really, really played well. Get a tank with you. It helps. Next up is Mask of the Infernal and also the shoulders as well. Specifically, the mask and the arm cops. Now, bear in mind, the weights on this particular setup are specific on purpose. I'll go over them in a minute. So don't panic right now. But you do want to have the helmet set of what we call Jeff. Versus other monster sets, this one actually did incredibly well because alongside focused efforts for our status effects, increase in hemorrhage, this dude does fire damage and he spawns all the time. You don't have to worry about crit chance. You don't have to worry about damage types and percentages for proccing it. Yes, it says light or heavy with 33% chance, but all you need to do is a heavy attack and he's guaranteed to fire. It's going to happen. Watch. Ta-da! Happens all the time. His cooldown is the same as his duration, so you can have 100% uptime on him if you're lucky. Basically, he chases the target, so it doesn't matter where you're standing. And he does flame damage every 2 seconds. He does swipes. He does a breath. He does all sorts. And yes, that can apply status. Sets don't trigger other sets. But set damage does apply status of its damage type. You get focused efforts stacked a few times, you are going to do loads of hemorrhage damage. You're going to do loads of burning damage. And you're going to apply Mana Vulnerability all the time. It's absolutely bloody bonkers. If you want to, again, if you want to see more of that, check out the live streams in the live section on this channel. Now, weights to make sense. Medium on the head and shoulders, heavy on the chest, light on the belt and hands, and medium on the legs and feet. That is to take advantage of resistance bonuses because most people don't actually understand that medium, believe it or not, is obviously less than heavy. But if you have them on the head and the shoulders instead of the chest, because the chest is heavy, that's the highest resistance one. Medium, hat, and shoulders is actually the highest second bonus that you can get. So that makes more sense to put them there rather than on the belt, which is the lowest. So if you have the light armor, which is the lowest armor type, on the smallest piece, and then the hands, which is the second smallest piece, next to, obviously, the legs and the boots, then that will optimize your resistances. So the 2 smallest pieces have light, the 2 next up have medium, and the 2 next up also have medium, and the highest one has heavy. If they're in a different order, it is not the end of the world. If that really makes a difference to you, then you are struggling. But for the purpose of optimization, that is the order you want them in. Champion points. Wrathful Strikes for weapon and spell damage to all damage and skills. Deadly Aim for all damage done on single targets. Now, bear in mind that won't affect your blast bones, but it will affect every single status effect you apply, and it will affect your heavy attack channel. That is crucial. In here, you want to take advantage of Exploiter. You are going to guarantee off balance. Other builds, you might not. This one, you are. And Ironclad. These are the 4 slottables you want. You want to take advantage of Wrathful Strikes, Ironclad, Exploiter, and Deadly Aim. Everything else is gravy on top. If you can get these passive ones that you don't need to slot, great. Especially these, they're very important. If you can get those, get them. If you can't, work towards them. But the 4 slottables you must get as soon as possible. You've got damage mitigation bonuses, you've got all damage bonuses, you've got single target damage bonuses, and you've also got your extra bonus to off-balance targets. And when you drop Malcolm on someone's head while they're off-balance, that is going to make a huge difference. Red stuff, slightly different to usual. Max health, max armor. Get those right away. You don't need any prerequisites for them. All these yellow ones, get them whenever you can, but there is a path you do want to take. Start here, move into here, and get 10 points in here. Then, you can unlock your health bonus. Then, get Bloody Renewal. You're going to get stamina back to fill that bar that you need for CC and heals and your status effects and your off balance. Then, Bastion. This is a trade-off. Technically speaking, you may not need Bastion, because while the damage shield is huge at the moment, even without it, it's still massive. Now, I wouldn't recommend using this. Siphon of Spells is nice. If you get a kill, you get magic back. That's great to use Blast Bones and all the rest of it. But if you're heavy attack and off-balance targets, you're actually not going to run out. It's physically impossible to run out. So, Bastion is really, really handy as a replacement for that. This one you do need. Bloody Renewal, keep it all day. Outside of that, you might have someone really squishy that dies all the time. You can have the faster res passive. Or you've got all these other different ones that you could use. There's so many. I mean, one of my favorites is actually this one here, which is Thrill of the Hunt. And every time you get the kill, you get a major expedition bonus for 6 seconds. That could benefit you quite a lot, especially when you're fighting fucking McForearms. So again, the last slottable outside of Bastion is really up to you. Failing that, I mean, you could just go into Recovery. That's quite easy. Up to you. Green Tree. Absolutely quality of life, nothing more. But Steed's Blessing does make you run faster between fights. So if you're in the secret rooms, that helps. And unless you're in the goat one, obviously, because you are in combat there. And the eye one. This increases your quality of items you find from chests. You're going to go through a lot of chests. Get these. But again, you're going to go through a lot of potions. And you go through a lot of food. So I would recommend those 4. Doesn't really matter because it's not mostly combat based. But why not? Now, how do you apply this? Quite simple. You keep your wall down. You fire your blast bones. You off-balance stuff with hemorrhage. And you maintain heavy attacks. You keep up that magic bar in case you need it. And you keep up your ghost. Wall, blast bones, heavy. Keep up hemorrhage, blast bones, heavy. Keep up hemorrhage, blast bones, heavy. Or wall. And that's it. That's literally it. You don't have to do anything else any more complicated than that. The ulti is your choice, smashy smashy or massive pajunga, but it's entirely up to you. It really is that simple. Now again, I have to stress, going onto a target dummy and looking at the DPS from that is actually redundant. Only stupid people do that for the Infinite Archive because, let's face it, you're going to be facing so many different fast-paced targets. You're going to be taking a big bunch of bonuses that benefit your skills in there only. You can't test on the dummy for what will happen in there. You can test how many effects fire, but you can't test the extreme scale that they might end up at. You can't test the amount of damage that they will end up applying. You can't test really anything apart from if you can sustain it or not. So the dummy is fucking useless. Go into the Infinite Archive itself, and yes, we have to keep calling it that. It's very difficult to not call it Endless Archive, and see if it works for you. All you need to do is maintain this hemorrhage or off balance combined, or use it as a heal. Keep the wall up, keep your heal up, and fire blast bones when ready. Outside of that, heavy attack the crap out of stuff. Now, as far as bonuses are concerned, I would highly recommend very specific ones. So, Scorching Support puts the fire down on the ground. Make sure the enemies stand in that. They will melt. And you can apply burn and status from it. That does stack alongside your Hemorrhage. That will hurt. I would also recommend highly Ferocious Support. Ferocious Support will give you that extra bleed damage over time that comes from your heavies. Heavy attack a target, bleed is on it, leave it running. That can also apply Hemorrhage if you're lucky. That gets silly. You also want to take advantage of, as much as you can, focused efforts. And then there are multiple different bonuses for this, and you can see them on the website. There's a link there. For damage over time, damage, critical chance for physical or magical, and critical damage for physical or magical. Now, whatever you take along the way is entirely your choice. I would recommend beefing up a little bit so you got some more survival along the way, especially since you're a DPS build, but you do come front-loaded with quite a good amount of survival. But the important ones are your status effect, your crit chance, and your crit damage. If you can get those, everything is going to melt. So try to focus on aiming for those if you can. Even though RNGesus is against you, that's what you're looking for. In the meantime, survival is key. So, people, hopefully that helped. Hopefully that wasn't too boring. Hopefully you now understand why this build is built the way it is. If you like it, obviously hit like. If you don't like it, hit like anyway. Why not, right? If you're not subbing, hit the button. It is free. And of course, here are some other videos for you. There is the Infinite Archive All About Mechanics guide. There are 3 other Necromancer builds there as well that you might want to take advantage of and adapt for this particular content or use as they are. It's up to you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.